I've had zero contact with Meghan, not since she borrowed those dresses, and they simply didn't return. It was a shame, really, but David and I have always been steadfast supporters of the monarchy.
She wants all of the privileges that go along with an identity, but she doesn't want any of the responsibility. She doesn't want to do any of the work. She wants the tiara. She doesn't want the public service.
The fashion world was stunned into silence when Victoria Beckham finally said what many insiders had whispered for years. "I've had absolutely no contact with Meghan," she reportedly stated. "Not since she borrowed my dresses and never returned them. David and I have always stood firmly with the British royal family." Those words landed like a thunderclap. For years, rumors about Meghan Markle's alleged habit of borrowing luxury fashion pieces without returning them had circulated quietly through styling rooms, magazine offices, and designer back channels. Most dismissed them as tabloid exaggeration until now. Because this time, the claim didn't come from an anonymous source. It came from one of the most powerful and respected figures in global fashion, Victoria Beckham. Once a friend, once an ally, once someone who opened doors for Meghan at the highest levels of British society. Her statement didn't just confirm suspicions, it detonated them. Almost instantly, fashion insiders, royal watchers, and brand executives began reassessing what they thought they knew. If Victoria Beckham, meticulous, guarded, and fiercely professional, was willing to go on record, then the issue was no longer gossip. It was pattern. According to sources close to the Beckhams, Victoria genuinely believed her friendship with Meghan was sincere. She lent designs in good faith, trusting the relationship. That trust, insiders say, evaporated the moment it became clear the garments were not coming back. The timing of her statement only intensified the fallout. It arrived just as Meghan faced renewed scrutiny for re-wearing a distinctive emerald green galvan gown, first seen during a 2022 Variety photo shoot. Years later, in promotional imagery, critics immediately questioned how a loaned editorial piece had seemingly become part of Meghan's permanent wardrobe. Victoria's words suddenly felt less like a personal grievance and more like confirmation of a wider issue. Palace insiders quietly suggested the Beckhams, longtime supporters of the monarchy, saw this moment as the final straw. Their loyalty, they say, was never ambiguous. Meghan's camp, by contrast, reportedly viewed her actions as normal Hollywood practice, where samples sometimes blur into personal possessions. And that cultural clash sits at the heart of this entire controversy. Victoria's designs are not casual borrow-and-forget items. They are cataloged, tracked, insured, and loaned with explicit expectations. What Meghan allegedly treated as perks, Victoria treated as professional trust. As insiders now reveal, Victoria wasn't alone. Behind the scenes, designers and stylists had already begun sharing quiet warnings. Meghan's alleged tendency to retain borrowed items, whether from shoots, fittings, or appearances, had reportedly left frustration in its wake. The irony is striking. At one point, Victoria Beckham and Meghan Markle appeared destined to become a formidable style alliance. For Meghan's first royal Christmas at Sandringham, Victoria reportedly lent her a curated wardrobe, coat, boots, handbag, dress. Valued at around £6,000. Meghan sought advice. She admired Victoria's aesthetic. On the surface, everything seemed warm and collaborative. But beneath that polished exterior, tensions brewed. Sources claim Meghan grew resentful after realizing just how wealthy and established the Beckhams were: multiple homes, private jets, yacht invitations, while she, newly royal, felt she should command equal deference. Insiders suggest she saw little in common with Victoria beyond public image. Then came the leaks. When a story appeared suggesting Victoria had offered Meghan beauty tips, Meghan allegedly suspected betrayal. Harry reportedly confronted David Beckham directly, accusing Victoria of briefing the press, an allegation the Beckhams denied outright. The relationship never recovered. Although the Beckhams attended the Sussex wedding, they were excluded from the private evening reception. Victoria reportedly felt insulted, especially after having lent valuable designs with no professional benefit in return. But according to fashion insiders, the true breaking point came when Meghan allegedly assumed borrowed items were gifts. Victoria, fiercely protective of her brand, requested returns. What followed, sources claim, were delays, excuses, and silence. In the fashion industry, this is not a trivial matter. Loaned garments are tracked meticulously. Missing pieces don't just affect designers. They endanger the jobs of stylists, assistants, and interns responsible for inventory. Failure to return items can result in financial loss and professional consequences. Experts describe Meghan's alleged understanding as a fundamental misreading of how high fashion operates. The controversy intensified dramatically with the now infamous variety shoot. In late 2022, journalist Vanessa Grigoriadis revealed on a podcast that multiple high-value items, dresses, and jewelry were discovered missing months after the shoot. According to production sources, the discovery triggered frantic follow-ups. Meghan's camp allegedly responded by claiming the items were retained to prevent resale by opportunistic crew members, a justification that left fashion insiders openly incredulous. Industry professionals emphasize that if a celebrity wishes to keep an item, there are clear protocols: purchase it, receive it as an explicit gift, or document the agreement. Quietly retaining items places blame on staff who had no control over the decision. And this, insiders insist, was not an isolated incident. Whispers began circulating that certain magazines quietly restricted Meghan's access, offering curated selections rather than full pulls to reduce risk. The picture forming was one of entitlement colliding with professional boundaries. Then came the moment critics called confirmation. In 2025, Meghan reappeared wearing the same emerald green galvan gown from the variety shoot. The rewear ignited immediate backlash, reinforcing claims that loaned pieces had been kept permanently. Her spokesperson denied everything, calling the accusations defamatory and insisting all retained items followed contractual agreements. But inside fashion circles, frustration boiled over. Samples are not resale fodder. They are prototypes. They are meant to return. Victoria Beckham's statement now echoed as part of a broader chorus, designers quietly closing ranks. Inside the Beckham household, sources describe unity and long-standing resentment. David Beckham, usually diplomatic, was reportedly furious, not just over the dresses, but over years of perceived entitlement and disrespect. The contrast in loyalty stung. David Beckham has cultivated deep ties with the royal family, working with Prince William, serving as an ambassador for King Charles's foundation, earning recognition through sustained service. For the Beckhams, royal alignment is not opportunistic. It's earned. Victoria's words, "We are always on the side of the British royal family," were not casual. They were deliberate. Palace observers note the positioning has been rewarded with respect, invitations, and trust. For Victoria, insiders say the statement brought relief. No more silence. No more tiptoeing. The fashion industry responded swiftly. Stylists, designers, and editors spoke anonymously of similar frustrations. Loan hesitancy grew. Doors quietly closed. Brands weighed risk versus reward and increasingly chose caution. Meanwhile, from Montecito, sources paint a picture of confusion and disbelief. Meghan reportedly views the backlash as a cultural misunderstanding. In Hollywood, borrowing samples is commonplace. Sometimes pieces are kept as informal tokens of exposure. From her perspective, fame justified flexibility. But the collision with British fashion norms proved unforgiving. Where Meghan allegedly saw earned entitlement, the industry saw broken trust. Where she saw protection of image, others saw professional damage. As collaborations dried up, consultants reportedly urged Meghan to pivot, to purchased wardrobes, custom designs. But insiders say she resisted, convinced the narrative was manufactured by hostile British circles. Public reaction has been brutal. Social media erupted. Polling in late 2025 showed Meghan's approval ratings collapsing in the UK and eroding sharply in the US. Words like entitlement and grifting dominated responses. By contrast, the Beckhams' reputation, built on discipline, loyalty, and hard work, emerged strengthened. Victoria's statement didn't feel cruel. It felt factual. And that distinction mattered. What once looked like isolated fashion drama hardened into a defining moment. Unreturned dresses became symbols of a deeper divide between cultures, expectations, and values. The industry has moved on. But the lesson lingers. In elite circles, trust is currency. Once spent,